Hello everyone, how we doing? Nice to be back. Welcome back to another video. Obviously it's the start of the Premier League season coming up this week. Friday night we've got Brentford against Arsenal. Apologies, actually I've got a bit of a cold as you can hear, so apologies for my voice. I sound a bit hoarse. But yeah, we've got the Premier League coming back. That obviously means the return of fantasy football. A lot of you guys have been keen, asked me questions. I've been asking other people questions, who they like, who they don't like. And I thought I'd just come on and do a video. We're going to be doing one a week, hopefully, if I remember to, of kind of players we like for selections, players we don't like, people we think are undervalued, maybe overvalued, and just give it a go. I am running a fantasy football league, which is a £5 entry fee, and then there will be a prize winning, depending on how many people I get in before the deadline, which is 6:30 this Friday. Before the Brentford Arsenal game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be talking players I like and don't like. We're going to be giving sort of two must picks from each position on the pitch, and then a guy we kind of think is undervalued and could be a sly pick to have in your team. But yeah, we're going to crack into it. But before, I know it's boring, takes 2 seconds, but if you could just click the subscribe button, honestly it would mean so much to me. It doesn't take much time at all, really helps me try and grow this channel. And helps just you give me insight and feedback into what you like, what you don't like, and hopefully we can do a load more Premier League and fantasy videos all year round. So yeah, let's stop the boring bit and get into it. So we're going to go with goalkeepers. In this section I've got one must pick, or one pick that I think if you have the money, I think he's well worth it, and then the undervalued pick who I think at the lower range goalkeepers is a good guy to have on your bench even if you don't start him, or even throw him in there in the starting 11. So, my must pick, shock horror, plays for Aston Villa Football Club. It's Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez was the leading point scorer as the keepers last year. He's only 5.5 million, so cheaper than some of the options as the like of Edison. He's a high-class goalkeeper. I think he was basically the reason that Argentina won the Copa America this year. Won them a penalty shootout against Colombia, kept them in the final. Just a great shot stopper. Out of all the things that have happened at Villa this transfer window, with a lot of changes, people leaving up front and in that midfield and people getting brought in that attacking asset, one thing that hasn't changed is that solid back five. If anything, we've got stronger. We've brought Tuanzebe on loan as another option, but it's still Konsa Ming's target cash for high-class defenders and Emi Martinez, who's a rocking goal. So I'd be surprised if Villa ship a lot of goals this year. And that's why I think Emi Martinez at 5.5 million is a great selection, and he is my starting goalkeeper, especially given the first 3 games we have, which I believe are Brentford, Watford and Newcastle. Not in that order because we played Watford first. And also quickly on that, I haven't mentioned it yet, but the first 3 weeks of Premier League season happen, and then there's an international break. So this season more than any other, yeah, it's strange. We're not really sure who's going to be starting, what formations, are people going to be fit after the Euros, new managers, all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a free go at it for these first 3 weeks. Have a crack with who you think with your head and heart, and then international break you can kind of re-intervene, have a look. If these guys aren't starting, then that's fine. You can maybe play a wild card or something if you want to. But for me, Emi Martinez is going to start every game for Villa, and he's a high-class option, especially given the first 3 games that we have. Then we go to my undervalued pick. We're going for Robert Sanchez at Brighton. He was a guy that my brother picked up early last year and got him a load of points as a cheap option. He's only 4.5 million. He's going to be Brighton's starter. The one question I would say is that they lose Ben White to Arsenal obviously this year. Does that make a big difference to the defence? Potentially, I'm not sure. But I think 4.5 million for a guy who's a high-class shot stopper, kept Brighton in a lot of games last year, and potentially kept them away from that scrap right at the end of the relegation. But at 4.5 million, starting goalkeeper every week. Like I said, if he's going to be your number 1 goalkeeper and you don't like spending a lot on keepers, that's fine. But also if you like having a second option who you think is going to be starting every game and you don't like the other fixture of your keeper, then that's great as well. So for me, my undervalued pick is Sanchez at 4.5 million. So yeah, that's 10 mil out of the budget gone for my team. We're going to move on to the defenders now. And we're going to start with my first must pick or must have in your team is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Look, Liverpool, high class team, we know that. I think anything that isn't Champions League football this year will be a disappointment for them. Obviously, they want to be winning the title. That's what these big clubs want. And Trent is a massive part of what they do. Obviously, had a bit more of a quiet year than the previous one when he kind of broke fully onto the scene. Was unfortunate not to see him at the Euros given his injury. Would we have seen him anyway? Who knows? But he's a guy who brings a lot to Liverpool, both going forward and defensively. Obviously, they have such a fluid system that he can kind of roam around anywhere he wants. Obviously, he patrols that right-hand side of the pitch. That's his main target, but he also floats into the middle. Is a big set-piece taker for them at corners, free kicks. He's a dead ball specialist. Obviously, we've seen a few beautiful free kicks from him in the previous seasons. And at 7.5 million, yes, it looks like a lot from a defender's perspective. But if he's going to be just as attacking as another midfielder you could pick in that section, and also give you the potential of picking up a clean sheet and then a bonus. If you get a clean sheet in an assist, you normally have a bonus of some sort. I think at 7.5 million, he's a great selection. And if you look at the amount of points made by 7.5 million midfielders in comparison to Trent Alexander-Arnold, Trent wins every day in terms of points won. So you may be better off going and giving that extra value for a defender who potentially gets you points on both ends of the pitch. So I'm going with Trent. Number 2 pick must have is going to be Luke Shaw. And if I was making this video 365 days ago and I said to you that Luke Shaw is a must pick, I probably would have, I don't know what I would have done. I would just laughed at myself because he is completely transformed. He's a completely new footballer, high class operator. Obviously does it for United, does it for England. Came into last season looking a bit overweight and was I don't know, not a laughing stock, but a guy that people did not fancy at all. And he's just completely shown that form he has as a youngster at Southampton. Going forward, bombing down the left-hand side, he has great delivery. We saw it in the Euros. He was one of the stand-up players. Obviously, the scenes when he put that ball in the net in the final. Yeah, I think at 5.5 million for a guy who's going to start every game for Manchester United, unless injury. Again, in a high-operating defence with the likes of Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, whoever fits in there. I think 5.5 million is a joke, to be honest. I think he is probably one of the first people I actually pick looking at that value. So for me, Luke Shaw, straight in. So those are my 2 must picks. And then we've got an undervalued pick that I've shipped in, given some of the news that I saw last week or something that I saw. And that is Daniel Amati for Leicester City. He is £4 million on fantasy football. A lot of you guys think, oh, I would just chuck a £4 million guy on the bench just to save me some value because he's not going to play. He's going to sit on my 3rd substitute anyway. But Daniel Amati comes in, 4 million. Obviously, we saw a horror leg break for Fofana last week. So prayers up to him. Hope that he recovers speedily as possible. And obviously an injury to Johnny Evans as well. So they are lacking a few options in the centre-back role. It looks like Amati's going to get the start week 1. Like I said, he's 4 million. Do you necessarily start him? It's up to you. Obviously they play Wolves. It looks like there could be a cagey 0-0. But at £4 million for a starter, it's a short to medium term until those guys get fit. Obviously Fofana's long term. But I think that's a must pick as well. He doesn't have to start, but if Leicester City go and get 2 or 3 clean sheets in those first 5 game weeks, his value has suddenly gone from 4 million to 4.5 plus. So he's just an asset to have in terms of, I think there's no way he'll be £4 million in 3 to 5 weeks time. So like I said, start him, don't start him, but I think as an option, as an asset to have, with a strong Leicester defence and a big man in Kasper Schmeichel in goal, I think he's a must pick as well. So at 4 million, Daniel Amati is in my team. So we will then move on to the midfielders. Just remind myself who I've got on my team. We're going to keep this one short and sweet. And yes, we've got Bruno Fernandes, £12 million. I think, I don't know what to say. He does everything for them. He floats around the middle. He creates, he scores goals. It's Manchester United. It's Bruno Fernandes. It's just set up for it. He's just a guy who's just there to score points. I don't really know how else to put it. I think he was the leading point scorer last year. £12 million is even cheaper than, I think, Salah's 12.5. So yeah, Bruno for me. United are a good side. They're going to score points. they're still unsure of the number 9, who's going to do what. So I can see him playing as high up as possible for United. So I think he's a must-have. 12 million, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's definitely worth it for Bruno Fernandes. And then we're going to go number 2. It's just slightly out left field, I'd say. But I've gone for Mason Mount at 7.5 million. Given the creative talent and assets going forward that Chelsea have, they could be becoming a bit of a Man City where you don't really know who to pick, who's going to start every game. For me, Mason Mount's the guy that starts every game. And at 7.5 million, with a team that's full of talent going forward, Pulisic, Ziyech keeps scoring. Obviously, that injury is a big pain for them. Just bringing in Lukaku at 100 million. And I'll say that now. When Lukaku starting for Chelsea, I don't care what you do for your fantasy team, he is in it. You could have everyone else 4 million. Lukaku needs to be in your team because that is a ridiculous player who's going to score so many goals in this league. So yeah, Mason Mount for me at 7.5 million. Again, set piece taker, creates the ball, is in the middle of the park. He just pulls the strings. And I think both in the Chelsea and England shirt, he's been superb and can't really fault him. And at 7.5 million, if you compare that to a 12 million Bruno Fernandes, 4.5 difference, he's a must pick for me. So I'm going to go with Mason Mount. Then we have our undervalued midfielder. Again, slightly left field. I've actually gone for Todd Cantwell at 5.5 million. This is a guy who I've always been high on. I thought he's an exceptionally talented guy. He kind of showed us it 2 seasons ago when Norwich had that year in the Prem, that he's a creative talent. A lot of teams have been snapping at Norwich to try and pick him up, Villa being one of those teams. He obviously had an unbelievable assist the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it in a pre-season game, bicycle kick. I think it was Adair scored, I can't really remember, but it was an unbelievable ball. Again, if Norwich are going to do well, he's going to have to be a guy that steps up for them, which I think he will be. I think this will be the year that Norwich don't do the yo-yo, and I think they actually probably have enough to stay up. I like Todd Cantwell. I think he's a flair player. I think he's just exciting to watch. He'll create chances. And yeah, obviously they've brought in a few new signings, Norwich, in the last couple of days that I don't know masses about, but look like good attacking talent as well that will help, hopefully, Cantwell be able to give guys the ball that will put it in the back of the net to give him assists and also provide for him to score goals himself. So at 5.5 million, I think Todd Cantwell's a great selection. Obviously, he's got a bit of a knock from all the Norwich fans and Norwich things that I've seen. He should be fine to go week 1 against Liverpool, even though I wouldn't be starting him in that game anyway. But I'm having Todd Cantwell at 5.5 million as my undervalued pick. Then we'll go on to the forwards. This is tough because the main high-class quality you see is in the midfield section in fantasy football. The forwards actually don't offer you a load of talent, and not the high-end prices talent. So you can be canny with your money here and maybe play like a 4-5-1 even if you don't trust the forwards as much. I know I'm playing 2 up front in the first game week. So my must pick, again, shock horror, plays for Aston Villa. It's Danny Ings. I think that is an unbelievable signing for us. I can't remember. I woke up one day, saw Aston Villa Twitter or Instagram, and it had like a Danny Ings face on the story. And I was like, well, that's strange. Is this some like parody account or something? Clicked on it. It was the real account. I was like, oh, okay. It was like Danny Ings has joined Aston Villa on a 3-year deal. I was like, what? 3-year deal? Aston Villa? 25 million? I'll take that. 25 million for Danny Ings, who's a known goal scorer in the Premier League, with a team that's got silly amount of talent going forward and creative players. I was over the moon. Obviously, we lost a villain this transfer window, which I'm not going to talk about because I'll start crying. But to bring in the players we have in Buendia, Bailey, Ings, potential to bring in more. I think we'll be a good side again. I think we'll be a good side. You've got a lot of players who are going to float around. Watkins, obviously, there are question marks. Are we going to play 2 up top with Watkins and Ings? Is Watkins going to play left wing like he did at Brentford in his early years? Buendia is going to float around, maybe play the Grealish sort of role. Louise, McGinn, El Ghazi, Trezeguet, Traore. They just keep coming. I just think we've got a load of talent. Ings will be provided goals on a plate. He'll put them away like he did in his first pre-season game for Villa. Scored 1 from 1, 100%. Danny Ings, 8 million. Get him in your team. He's my must pick. So, because there's very few forwards you can pick from, I'm going from just one must pick and one undervalued pick. My undervalued pick, again, maybe slightly left field, 6.5 million. I've gone for Niamwape. A bit of a rogue bloke, to say the least, in the Premier League world. I just think I'd be surprised if we don't tune in 12 months' time and see that Mwape scored double-digit goals. I just think that he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. He gets chances. Brighton, obviously, I think will have enough again to stay up. I don't think they're worse than some of the teams in the league. Mwape is a known goal scorer. He puts the ball in the penalty spot and takes ownership over that as well, which gives you another option to pick him. I just think he's a goal scorer. And again, necessarily does he start for you every week? Probably not, but 6.5 million. I just like that selection. I like him just to get against the weaker sides, especially just to put the ball in the back of the net, maybe one a week. He's not going to get you massive points, I don't think, but I like him as a selection. I've got him in my side. I don't have him starting game week 1, but Niamwape is my undervalued pick up front. So that is pretty much it. I will just run through my team and squad then for game week 1, just to let you know, guys, who I have. So I am playing a 4-4-2. I'll go through my bench first. So obviously my substitute goalkeeper is Sanchez. They've got Burnley away, so if you do have Sanchez as your first keeper, that's not a bad selection, obviously. Could be getting a clean sheet there. Then we've got Mwape on the bench as my first sub. Obviously, same game, they're playing Burnley. Could get a goal, but also is always a scrappy one at Turf Moor. Maybe might be a 0-0. This is my tough one. I've got Amati on my bench for week 1. They're playing Wolves at home. I'm denied about do I start him. But at the minute I've got him on my bench. Could change hours before. But Amati on my bench. And then, as I said previously, Campbell, potential knock. They've got Liverpool game week 1. He's on my bench as well. So, in goal we've got Emi Martinez. Watford away. Got 3 really good fixtures before the international break. And we'll be hoping that we can get a clean sheet, get 3 points. Up the Villa. Then we have, as I've mentioned already, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Luke Shaw. Then we've got Aaron Cresswell, who obviously was a bit of the surprise package last season in terms of fantasy football points. Obviously, West Ham had a really good season. He's got that left-back position sorted. Again, it will be interesting to see West Ham this year because they've got a lot of football given their European targets as well. So, I've got Cresswell. I think he creates a lot. I think, again, West Ham should be okay. I don't know if they'll have as good a season as last year. I think it's too tough to do with the amount of fixtures they'll have. But I think Cresswell, I think he's 5.5 million. I think it's a must pick. And then my number 4, who people are umming and ahhing about, is João Cancelo at £6 million. And it's the classic Man City debate. Do you pick Man City players? Yes, they're the best team in the Premier League. Yes, they're probably the best team in the world. Yes, they've got the best talent. But who plays? Who gets picked? Who does Pep put in the starting 11? Hard to know. It is really hard to know. But for me, João Cancelo will start game week 1. Again, this is my opinion. So if he doesn't start, please don't scream at me and send me abusive messages. But I think João Cancelo is a high-class operator. His role is right back, but he literally plays everywhere. He literally goes anywhere on the pitch that he wants. A nice shot on target bet, I always think, because he roams around and has a little pop from 20, 30 yards. And yeah, with the amount of talent City have, I will be surprised if he doesn't get on the end of a couple of assists and even a couple of goals this year. And obviously clean sheets with that Edison line. Obviously with that back line that City have. So yeah, I've got João Cancelo. Then we're going to be boring. Mason Mount. Again, obviously I've got Bruno Fernandes, who is my captain this week. Bruno Fernandes captain. Leeds at home. Remember what happened against Leeds last year when they played them first time round. It was an absolute humdinger of a game. Okay. We've got 2 outside picks here starting. I don't know which one's more rogue. We've got Hotter for Liverpool against Norwich away. Now, does he start? Who knows? It's him or Firmino. They both scored in pre-season. Who knows if they score or not? Start or not, sorry. I think Hotter gets the starting role here. He might not. I could be completely wrong. They could give it to Firmino. But what I will say is, Hotter comes in after 60 minutes. He loves a goal even off the bench. So even if he doesn't start, I'm not really that worried because I think he'll get 30, 35 minutes and probably score. Yes, I've just said Norwich I think will be enough to stay up. But Norwich is a chance to score goals even if you come on late doors. So for me, I've got Hotter. I think he's 7 million or 7.5 million. I like him as a bit of a gamble. Like I said, look, we've got 3 weeks to the international break. If after 2 weeks I realise he doesn't start both games, then that's fine. I can bin him off and bring someone else in. But I like gambling in fantasy football. I'm not really a guy that plays it safe and plays the percentages and goes with the same people that other players have. I like just to have a crack with who I think instinct-wise will work. And for me, that's Hotter. My second midfielder is from Manchester City, and his name is Jack Grealish. He's £8 million. He's brought a lot of joy to my life, a lot of sadness over the last 2 weeks as well. But yeah, honestly, I mean, it doesn't matter if he's playing in a claret blue shirt or a sky blue shirt. I'm going to say the same thing. I think he's one of the best footballers in the world. For me, he's just different level talent. I still, no matter how much support he's been given over the Euros and by everyone, I still don't think people appreciate how good he is, which is crazy because people are literally bigging him up every 2 seconds. But that's not enough. It should be every 1 second. Because this guy's different gravy. At £8 million. Yes, again. Does he start every week? Who knows? But with the injuries to the likes of Foden and De Bruyne, I think he has to start game week 1. And for the talent he has, if he was at Villa and he was £8 million, you wouldn't even think about it. But because he's at City for £8 million, I think he's got to pick. He's got to get picked. You've got to pick Jack Grealish. You've got to trust in the man. So I've gone with Jack Grealish. Then up front, we've got 2 at the top. Danny Ings, obviously I told you Mwape was on my bench, which leaves one available player. And again, this is my kind of gamble pick that if it doesn't work in the first couple of weeks, then we'll look somewhere else. But we've gone for Mr. Ivan Toney for Brentford. Obviously, ever since Villa kind of dropped down into the Championship, I've been a fan of just watching Championship football, even when we came back up and putting it on. And this guy was a talisman for Brentford last year. He was really instrumental in them getting up, putting the ball in the back of the net, scoring a range of goals, which is always important when you come up and step into the Premier League. And yeah, like I said, it's just a gamble for the first couple of weeks. I like them against Arsenal on Friday night. I think it's a classic. Friday the 13th, Arsenal, first game of the season. It kind of just all lines up for Arsenal to lose that game of football. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ivan Toney bags one, at least. And so I like Toney. I like him. I like Brentford. I really hope they stay up because I like what they're doing there. And yeah, he's my second striker. So that is my starting 11. My picks that I like and don't like. We're going to be doing this every week. So given a few changes to injuries, formations, what we see after week 1. Obviously, week 1 is a complete gamble. No one really knows what we're going to see. Teams, formations, starting 11s. It's a complete unknown to all of us. But that is my insight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have arranged selections. Let me know who you guys fancy for your teams. And yeah, DM me either on Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, whatever it is, because my Fantasy Football League, £5 entry, there'll be winners with that money going towards, I don't know, top 3, maybe just the winner. Depends on how many people we get in. But make sure you do that before 6:30 on Friday. And yeah, appreciate it, guys. See you soon. Make sure you subscribe. Up the Villa and up the FPL. See you soon.